Okay. Sorry, I was not here yesterday. I was just having such a terrible, not really a terrible day, just kind of just catching up with certain things. And, before I go on rants, I try to learn more about the actual subject that I'm about to rant about. Now, I do this show through multi streaming through Streamlabs, and they have a new thing in here where you can apparently put up a clip, and it's supposed to be working with this site, and you know, honestly, it's the reason why this has to go. It's the reason why this whole show is just a bad idea. I had such a different perception for the show, and none of it went the way it was supposed to go, and that's my fault. That's my fault entirely. I didn't learn what I was supposed to learn. I attempted to at every chance I could, but there is just it gets to an extent where you simply start to lose care. And I never wanted to do this thing. The stream show STS was meant to be for interviewing other people and having other people in a certain room and getting to know the stranger, odder people that live in our city and help make our city, what it is. And I had a certain types of guests that I had in mind. I basically knew who I wanted to talk to and who I wanted to focus on, and what under what terms, and none of it came out the way I wanted. Nothing panned out. This whole journey was doomed from the get-go. And again, it's just me to blame. I don't see how anyone else could have screwed this up so bad except for me. And it was really because the show, or the streaming service that I had chose, was supposed to be so easy that a monkey can do it, and you can put in this clip or this clip, and I wanted to put in a clip of Kanye in his recent interview with Alex Jones. And I thought this was just comedy gold. Like, this is definitely what it's exactly what I just said. It's just comedy gold. It's fucking hilarious. The fact that the idea that Dave Chappelle's character, in his first episode of Chappelle's Show, when Dave Chappelle did the black white supremacist, it was such a funny idea because it had what's called oppositional humor. And basically, if you go to places like Second City, if you go to places like that, you learn a lot about how opposites are supposed to be funny. Little guy, big hat. That's how I always try to explain it to people. Just think of a little guy with a big hat. You wouldn't expect to see a big hat on a little guy. So that's why it's funny. It's called oppositional humor. And when you're learning about it, um, it's so basic, but it really is kind of the nucleus of most humor. It comes from, something you don't expect, the unexpected. Um, it's like we humans either look at the unknown in fear or in jest. I don't know. But the point was that this character was a character. It was Dave Chappelle's idea, and it was just a funny ass idea. We never thought it would actually happen, let alone happen to the. I'd hate to say this, but one of the most successful icons to come out of Chicago, which is what makes me really depressed about it, because so many people thought that Kanye was an embodiment of Chicago, and they couldn't be further from the truth. I being in music my whole life and being involved in the underground music scene for so many years, I have come across countless, honestly, not countless. It was probably about like 5 or 7 people. But it was amazing to me how many rappers hated Kanye, saying that their music was stolen, and he was supposed to originally have this other guy as a feature, and instead just stole the entire song. And there's just I've run into a few of them. The first, I think, 1 or 2 times I thought, a lot of people like to think they created something, but let's say, like, coming from my point of view, I'm a vocalist, and so I remember when the song "Alone I Break" by Korn came out. I had a song that was almost dead on exactly the same when it came to the melody, and even the whole, like, chorus, the whole melody of the chorus was my melody. And I think he had chosen the chorus melody, whereas that was my verse melody. But I didn't go around blaming Korn from stealing from me, because I don't know Korn. There's no possible way he could have stolen it from me. It was simply he beat me to it. There's only so many melodies in the world, There's a it's not infinite. I'm sure I'm sure there's a limit somewhere. But yeah, when you're a vocalist and you're really trying to get people a good hook, which is just your chorus. You want a good catchy chorus, and you want personally, preferably for me, I like my verses to be catchy, and you know, I like the verses to be catchy and the chorus to be almost like a chant. There's certain musicians that do things like that. I can definitely say that Dave Williams from Drowning Pool was like that, where he'd make a catchy verse, catchy pre-chorus, and then the chorus itself would be almost like a chant. And so that's 3 different melodies you got to come up with for that. For the average song, you need at least 3 melodies. So you work really hard on getting these melodies. So from that aspect, and from that perspective, I can totally understand the frustration and anger of being ripped off by a famous rapper. And so apparently one of his mixtapes had included a lot of material that wasn't his. And I think this is before College Dropout. But excuse me. Anyway, people really tended, when Kanye was coming up and people just loved him. I was never on that bandwagon because I had heard so many complaints about the guy coming up. So I watched him from a distance, and him being from Chicago, gotta support my fellow Chicagoans. But Kanye just always rubbed me the wrong way. I just never liked the cut of his jib, and just like there was always some about him. I just thought, this guy is a tool. Like, I people thought I was just saying that because I like to be contrary, or I like to screw with the status quo and question it or give it the finger. And honestly, I probably have more respect for Willow Smith than I do Kanye West. Um, because I mean, at least she wrote her own music. Uh, I never saw him as a Jesus figure when he was doing that bullshit. You know, I personally would rather listen to Twista any day. If we're gonna listen to Chicago rappers, I will listen to fucking Juice. I'd rather listen to Juice battle rap than anything by Kanye. It's just my taste in music. But there was just something really phony about him that I just couldn't put my finger on, but I didn't know the guy. So I could never really say anything. Now I'm on a different, side of the industry, but we run into each other often. The rock and hip hop groups, we run into each other constantly. So I remember my daughter being held by this huge guy in this metal band, and people were worried because he had spikes on his shoulders, and he was on, my daughter was on his head. But I never worried. I knew the guy, uh not reason I knew him reasonably well, but I knew that he wouldn't have let my kids gotten hurt. So he would hold her feet so that way she couldn't kick or get cut by the spikes on his jacket. And um the way he handed me my daughter back, I mean, it literally, my daughter fit in the palm of his hand. That's how big this dude was. And so when you're going through all that shit and you're going through all these different concerts and you're playing nonstop, especially in your before you're 20, that's the most you're probably gonna get the most gigs before you're 20. Because you have so much backup. You got your friends from high school, you got a lot of people to support you, so you can get a lot more attraction, and you can get more gigs, and you can get more traction. And the the higher you go, the more people you meet. And I've met from Bone Crusher to seeing Twista live. And again, just because I'm in the hard rock and metal scene and then the acoustic scene, it does not change the fact that I'm still sharing a stage with hip hop and alternative and metal. And it's inviting. It's welcoming. Every Chicago musician tends to be very down to earth and really cool people. I will not vouch for one band specifically, and that's, besides Kanye West, Fall Out Boy. Most people don't know that. They're fucking. Maybe they're different now, but when I knew them, they were complete douchebags. And whereas Kanye is a tool, they are douchebags. The type of guys that make the jokes about how your penis doesn't check for ID or something like that. But even though they're making a joke about it, they're serious. Like they were straight up pedos in my opinion, because I won't say all of them, But the singer and Pete Wentz were constantly hitting on my girlfriend, who was like, I think 15 at the time. And they were just relentless, the way that they would hit on these little groupies. And, I know a couple that have claimed to have slept with him. So again, it's all conjecture. I don't put much thought into it. But when you hear the same story from so many people, it starts to make sense. So Kanye became this big representation of Chicago, and now I think is the probably the most opportune time to distance our city from him, because although I was never on that Kanye bandwagon, I can see a lot of disenfranchised fans, and especially the white fans. Especially the Jewish fans. I'm sure Kanye had a lot of Jewish fans. I'm sure white kids like rap too. So, him being such a big pop figure, everyone thought he was cool. I mean, you had Key and Peele, talking about how cool he is. You had Scrubs talking about how cool he was. Every TV show would talk about how cool Kanye West was. And now now it's so polar opposite. It's now, oh, well, I mean, I always thought he was straight, like he's alright. And it's like, no, motherfucker, you were preaching about this dude being the next fucking Michael Jackson, okay? Michael Jackson had more talent in his fucking pinky finger than the majority of rappers today. And we're frozen again. But also, at the, I believe the most recent award show that went on, I think it was it was a music one. I think it was the People's Choice Awards. Anyway, Chris Brown was actually supposed to perform, and he was going to do some sort of dance off that was going to be like a full performance, and we were going to see him do some of Michael Jackson's most like memorable dances. And if anybody can do it, as much as I don't like the press this guy's gotten, Chris Brown can fucking dance. Like, that dude can dance. I've heard stories. See, this is what I'm talking about. I would love to show you guys clips and stuff like that, but I can't. I don't have that technology. I don't have a like Joe Rogan has that one dude, Jamie. I don't have a Jamie. I don't have anybody to help me out with this shit. So, like Joe Rogan, it's very different for me because it's a poor comedian that has no famous friends trying to basically just have a conversation. And the whole idea for this show came from a radio show that I was supposed to do that was called The Last Angry Young Man. And I wanted to do that because there was a man at the time when I was growing up that was on public access, and he had his own show that was called the Young Angry Man. And then I just would listen to his show, and he wouldn't have guests, and he would tend to talk to people like kind of like C-SPAN does, where he's talking to the camera and then you guys call in and do shit. That's how he ran the show. And he would put people in their place if they deserved it. One girl complained about how she couldn't get a job, and the guy had grabbed a newspaper and immediately found like 4 jobs for her and said, have you called any of these numbers? Just by going by her experience and by, what little he knew about her, he managed to take that little information and, apply it to the newspaper. And he's like, look, I just found 4 jobs, and you said there's none in here. And he's like, see, you're just being lazy. So I just fell in love with this guy. when it came down to how he would the way that he was articulate, and he was cohesive, concise, but he was, curious. And it's that's the most important thing to never lose, in my opinion, is curiosity. You should always keep that brain open, because it's a muscle, it needs to be exercised. So the cross clips that I was supposed to be showing was his recent Kanye's recent interview with Alex Jones. And Alex Jones is supposed to be the nation's idiot, like resident idiot. He's like the town idiot. And I don't really see him that way, because when 9/11 happened, he was one of the only outspoken people. And I just think that he got way too far on the right side, and just started leaning way too far right, when I liked him better as a guy that was just questioning the status quo, not trying to be the status quo. Yeah, it's the best way I can put it. So I've always looked at this show as a podcast type of thing, because it's really just me spouting off opinion. And like I said, there's a guy on YouTube. There's millions of people on YouTube that do this, but there's only a few that actually bring out some decent points, and bring out some actual conversation. And I catch myself talking back to the computer. So if anyone were to do that with me, you're not crazy. Trust me, I do it all the time. And so there was that. I wanted to show you a clip of that, and then I wanted to show you the recent Herschel Walker clip that I also have literally on this little thing over here, and I can't seem to just click it and let you guys watch it. But the other thing was Jake Bird on Jimmy Kimmel running to a Herschel Walker event in Georgia, and he just embarrasses the shit out of everyone. It is hilarious. So as for this type of show, I'm going to keep it as long as this subscription's going, and then I'm out of here. I'm really wanting to be more focused on narration, and I've just always been a fan of the audio more than visuals, because with visuals you need to be technologically savvy, and I'm not. And I am not the kind of person that can take something apart and just put it back together. I'll forget which part went where, and so for me it's difficult to learn the process of making the show like everyone else does. It just it's a difference in generation, and it's a difference in education. My high school literally had no computer class for us. Nothing. I didn't get one damn computer. I've never once touched a computer in high school, and that's fucking crazy. But yeah, I'm sure there's kids right now that if you were to say that, it's not like I went to high school in 1954. It's not like I went in the 70s or the 80s or the 90s. I was in the 2000s, and yet no one was allowed to touch anything. And it seemed like every time I left school, that school got better, after I left. So I don't know. That's why I just go by Useless Agent. I should just be going as Jinx, but then I don't want to be compared to that murderer and that whole Netflix thing. Oh, that reminds me, there's a special out on Netflix that is called Taking Your Pills. It's called Take Your Pills, and it's a new episode that's entirely based on conjecture and bullshit. Basically, it was trying to make it sound as if people that take benzodiazepines are weak, or somehow frail or more fragile than the average person. And I take antidepressants and I take benzodiazepines. And if you were to say that in my face, we're going at it, because there's nothing weak about having to take your medication. And, you know, I'm sorry, I don't believe in that holistic horseshit, you know. I believe that life is based off of energy and, frequencies, but I don't believe in the chakras and all that retarded stuff. I mean, maybe it's great for certain people. Sure, whatever. I mean, a lot of weird things work for other people. No two people are alike. Fucking snowflakes, man. But to have an entire program set on a subject that they clearly missed the point. The point of, divulging into the benzodiazepine problem in the country is not the patient. It is the doctors that are over prescribing. And I've come across so many people that, completely abuse the drug and sell them off or do whatever. And it's that person that represents, that's the bad apple represents the bunch. And it seems like that's how everything is now. And again, Chicago used to be Kanye City. No, you're not. Stay in LA. Stay the fuck away from Chicago. Just leave us alone. All right? We already had R. Kelly. Now we have Kanye. It's like everyone out of Chicago just can't keep a damn career without going completely fucking Mel Gibson on themselves. Or, in R. Kelly's case, I mean, that should have been dealt with a long time ago. We all knew that he was dating Aaliyah when she was a child. We knew these things, and we didn't do shit about it. So, that's why I like to call the episodes the shit that we allow, because it's the things that we allow to pass us and don't take a single second look at it. And then the people that do are the ones that can't just take something and accept it for what it is. They have to question it. And those are the people that are using their brain. You're not here to accept life. You're here to explore it. So, yeah, that's my time. And Kanye, just stay away from just stay away from my city. You know what? You can go ahead and preach your crazy anti-Semitic bullshit. Keep it to yourself. Keep it to your disgusting homophobic, pedophilia fucking friends. You're friends with pedophiles and Holocaust deniers, and I'm sorry, but that's the two worst things you can fucking be it's the two worst characteristics in a person. How can you deny something that is historically documented? World War II was more documented than any fucking war that we had ever had. And to this day, there are still more and more books that come out of World War II. And we love to discuss it. But another thing is that Kanye does not represent us as a city, does not represent black people, he's not a representation of anything but himself. And that is a rich, idiotic sycophant that literally is like a leader of a cult. He reminds me a lot of Jonestown and shit, like he wants his own cult. I think that's the case. I mean, when you have the ego to ask Trump to be your running mate, yeah, you're fucking crazy. And so I have never had a problem with anyone Jewish. Chicago has plenty of Jewish people, and I live in the north side, and that's where a lot of Jews live. And I just find it hilarious that he owes back taxes and blames that on Jews, and then thinks that Hitler created and invented the microphone that he uses to this day. Wow. So when he's sitting there telling Alex Jones that Hitler deserves so much respect, now, man, there's a difference. There's a way to go about this in a very intelligent way, which I have actually gotten in trouble for. And I was not standing up for Hitler. I simply said, you know, he did positive things for the German economy, and you know, kind of revolutionized the automobile, you know, in Germany. And their automobile industry was collapsing at the time. They were on financial ruin, you know. So he had done a lot of great for Germany's economy, and that's something that Germany has to live with, you know. That's something that their country has to accept, and they did accept. It seems like they accepted it. You know, they have made a official apology, just like America had to apologize for the Japanese internment camps. So it's like it's already, those points were already made, but Kanye is giving him even more. Like he's accrediting him to things that he didn't even do. So in his weird, warped little brain, surrounded by sycophants that think everything he does is beautiful and genius, and that's the only way you can have the balls to walk in a room and say that you're the king of rock and roll when you don't even make good fucking rap music. Like, I'm sorry, it just sucks. And yeah, I just love the fact that his time is finally passed and we can get past this bullshit, because I am so tired of his fucking name. Like, I've never liked the guy, so I love that this is happening, because it's not happening to him. Nothing's happening to him. He is doing this on his own, both eyes open, wide open, and ruining his fucking career. So let him do it. Please let him do it. Go ahead and have a baby with Nick Fuentes and fucking hang it. I don't know, whatever you psychos do, but thank God you're doing it in LA, and just stay the fuck out of here. All right. So as a born and raised Chicagoan that has no plans on ever leaving the city, that is for you, and that's from my city. That's my time. Love you guys. Thank you so much for taking the time to hang out with us. If you guys know anyone that seems to be having trouble with their mental health or any kind of state, we always contact you back at uselessagentmusic@gmail.com. Do us a favor, like, share, subscribe. All you gotta do is just literally click the little thing right there. There it goes. And then yeah, just support us. I don't know why that doesn't say useless agent, but yeah. Let's try to keep independent media. Let's try to support it. That's the lesson that I'm trying to give out, is you got to support more local media, because the big names are giving you false or readjusted information, and history is finally being written from every angle with the internet. So it is no longer the Napoleon complex of saying history is written by the winners. Not these days. History is written by all of us. So support local media, support local musicians. Go out and see your friend's band. Fuck the big bands. We love you, and thanks for spending time with us, okay? And as always, I will see you guys